and he for the Giants for not passing, he's played well for him. What do you think?
I like him as a slot guy. I mean, yes, for sure. This is where I think the Saints are lacking right now, and as having a slot player. And I like his hands. I think he's, like you said, consistent, very steady. This is a guy, and a little bit older than the guys that are in my room, so he'd be the veteran to lead these guys and kind of keep them in line. But yeah, I would definitely give him a 2 to 3 year contract, but as a slot for sure. And I think he'd give you, like you said, consistently that 700-800 yard, maybe 4-5 touchdowns. I'd definitely take that.
So Pags, welcome in the Philly Sports Guy. How you doing, Pags, today?
Good morning. I'm a little crispy. I'm out here in Pittsburgh, and last night I had some fun.
All right, cool. Well, that's good. Drinking away your sorrows after Pittsburgh beats you for the second time, I guess. But anyway, Pags, we'll get into that later. Pags, we're playing You're the GM. And I'll go over real quick what we decided on so far with the named free agents out there. The first one was Tyler Heinicke, third stringer for Pittsburgh now. Jack said he would take him as a third stringer. James wouldn't want him at all. I would take him over what I got right now as my second stringer right now. How about the Eagles? I mean, you got Pickens there right now. Would Tyler Heinicke interest you if you were the GM for some kind of competition with Pickens?
Meh, not really. I mean, we know what we're getting with Tyler Heinicke, and it's what's he, like 86 years old now? I mean, he came out of college as like somebody who was like 40 already. Yes, so it's I mean, I don't know that he's going to pose any real competition. And I think that's real. So maybe to have as the emergency backup if we needed one, but I don't think that we even, that may be the only reason to have him.
So you don't think that Tyler Heinicke is better than Kenny Pickett?
No, I don't.
All right. Okay. You're the GM. That's your decision. I would definitely take him. We also talked about
well, that's because you're the Giants and you don't really have a quarterback.
I would take almost anybody right now. We also talked about Hassan Riddick. He may try to force his way out if he doesn't get what he wants. I know the Eagles wouldn't be interested in getting him. You got a good wide receiving crew over there right now. I would imagine T. Higgins wouldn't interest you if you were Howie Roseman over there, especially for maybe a 3 year. You would have to sign him for an extension. Would that be something that you might be willing to take a look at?
Yeah, I would take a look at it. I mean, obviously, bringing in T. Higgins would elevate, like he would definitely fall into the number 3 spot, for wide receiver. So I can't imagine why you wouldn't want to do that. Of course, it would be a money thing.
Right.
So,
it's not realistic, guys. T. Higgins isn't going to. They're not going to pay him big money. The Eagles on any circumstance.
I didn't.
Not going to go there.
Listen, are you the GM of the Eagles or am I?
I mean,
so listen, I would have to consider it.
Yeah.
I would have to consider it.
That's
so
why
yes, I don't know that it would be worth it financially. But this is the reason why you're the GM of the Jets, and the Jets suck so bad. So it's
Jets will have a better year than the Eagles this year.
Listen, Jack has a point, and so does Pags. As I said, as a Giants GM, I know what he's asking for. That doesn't mean he's going to get that. There is negotiations that you go through it, and I don't know if you're what the Bengals are looking for in return. You'd have to negotiate that too. I'm saying, is there an interest in T. Higgins where you think you might be able to make a negotiation, and even if you backload a contract where you might be able to get him on? Is it worth discussions? And that's what I'm asking. I'm not saying that you're going to get him.
Howie Roseman is the king of the show me contract. Let's play 1 year, get yourself a ring, and then you can go get paid afterwards.
So anyway,
I would love to do that in the contract.
He's doing that with Cincy. He signed a franchise tag, T. Higgins. He's reported he's ready to roll with the Bengals this year, and he's going to have a chance to show everyone in free agency next year, unless they franchise him again.
Well, if I'm the Bengals GM, Jack, I want to get something for him before I roll with him for a year. I would maybe want to get some draft picks or a player or two and get him off my book so I can make another move. I mean, there's a lot of things to consider with just
So
letting him roll.
what are you coming? Since you mentioned what Pags with the Eagles, Mac, if you're the Eagles, what do you give as far as draft capital for T. Higgins? They're not going to give it.
Good question. Good question.
I don't see them give it. Well, I could see something like that. They've made moves like that. Yeah, I could see that conceivably.
Yeah, but
So
I mean, and that's what you would give it. And because truth of the matter is that you're not going to franchise him again, because right now the highest number, he would have to be the highest played wide receiver on a second franchise tag, and that's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of about $40 million a year.
And Pags, you have two receivers who are better than T. Higgins on the Eagles right now. He's not going to come there and be a star player. Why would T. Higgins want to go to the Eagles?
To get a ring.
He could get one at Cincinnati, has a competent team. You can't rule out their chances.
Well, yeah, but you can't really count on their chances right now either. So
and I can make the argument he has a better quarterback throwing to him in Joe Burrow than Jalen Hurts. That is a valid argument.
There is a valid argument to that, but he also doesn't have the defense. He doesn't have the offensive line. He doesn't have. They're not the Eagles. They're the Cincinnati Bengals, and there's a reason why the Cincinnati Bengals have only been to one Super Bowl in the last 40 years.
All right. So the next player we're going to talk about is James Bradberry, of course, an Eagle who they're trying to work out at safety. Had a terrible year last year after losing his defensive coordinator. The year before that, he had a really good year. So if the Eagles are willing to talk to you, and of course, Pags as the Eagle GM would be talking to you, so good luck with that. Jack, as the Jet GM, is Bradberry somebody his experience and maybe he can play safety, maybe he has another good year at cornerback? Is that somebody that you're interested in maybe making a move for with the Jets?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, if the price is right. I mean, the price can't be anywhere close to being overwhelming, but he would be a rotational player. Yeah, he's been around a while. You never know with James Bradberry which version shows up. When he's good, he's very, very good. And when he's bad, he's very, very bad. But sure, I mean, I would take a chance on him if you can sign him basically for backup money. I mean, he would be a nice addition.
Well, first, he's still on the roster right now, so it would need to be like for a 4th-round pick. You'd be trading him for a 4th-round pick, I would think.
I don't think I would give a 4th rounder back. I don't think I would do it. A 6th rounder, yeah, something like that. A 4th rounder still.
So you're saying a 4th, and you're coming back with a 6th. Would we go with a 5th?
I would have to do
Possibly.
some serious thinking about it. I can't just make a snap decision.
We're actually making deals on the show. This has never been done before, folks.
But let me tell you what happens a lot of the time, Matt.
Wait a minute. As Pax said, he's still on the roster. So is Hassan Riddick. Things would have to happen. They don't owe him a lot of money on his contract this last year, but they would be able to release some of the dead cap money, that salary that is on, which is a substantial amount. So the Eagles might be interested in this if you're willing to negotiate with them what to get. The only question is, after you negotiate with the Eagles, what would Bradberry want as a contract, right? I mean, does he want a contract extension, or is it just for the 1 year? That's something, of course, would have to be negotiated with Bradberry.
Well, I just want to say, smart GMs like Howie Roseman deal this way. They wait to see what team suffers an injury at a certain position when they're looking to move a guy, and they're very patient, and that team sees the season coming up. They've got to get a replacement player, and then he's kind of dealing from strength.
It's true. He's a great GM. There's no doubt about it. James, you said maybe a 5th. You might do it. Pags might have talked you into it. So suppose he says to Jack, 5th and another next year another 6th. Are you willing to do that?
No, not a fifth and a
James, are you?
sixth. He's not
James, are
worth
you
it.
willing to do that to get Bradbury?
No.
Okay. All right. I just want to see what happens.
It also depends on your system. Bradbury is a man-to-man guy who covers. He's not like a cover 2 guy. So if you play cover 2 primarily, he's not going to be your guy. You need him to get up on the line and be able to go man-to-man on guys. That was the problem last year. He fails. I mean, and you knew this with the Giants. This is that he was failing in the system, and when the system went to a cover 2, it wasn't his thing. And when he first got here, he was doing a lot more man-to-man. And this is that. So if you have a
100%.
man-to-man system, it might be something worthwhile. So you might give me a 5th round pick next year and a 7th round in 2 years.
Well, like Pax is saying, let's say hypothetically Sauce Gardner gets injured, he's out for the year. All of a sudden, if I'm the Jets, I might give a 4th round selection for James Bradbury as the season is coming up. So situations change.
And Pat, a heck of a point, because Bradbury, a bigger cornerback, has to get on the line. You've seen him get beat in the zone a few times at the end of the year. He's not as fast as a young wide receiver. He's a mauler at the line of scrimmage. And yes, you would have to change maybe how you do defense, or if you do play the man-to-man. A great point. So next up is a New England Patriot, believe it or not, Matthew Judon. From what the Boston Herald is saying, the writer, he is not going to play under this contract. He was hurt last year before, huge year, guys. He had the bicep tear last year. 15.1 sacks and 42 quarterback pressures. I mean, he had a monster year 2 years ago. Jack, I mean, you still got Hassan Reddick there. If by chance you lose him and he forces his way out, do you say, all right, to heck with it, I'm going to go get Judon from the Patriots?
No, I have a hard time trusting players, no matter how good they are, if they're not seeing the field, if they're hurt, and if they've last done it 2-3 years ago. I somehow take a pass. I think the Jet defensive unit is good enough. They could be fine without Riddick. I mean, I realize, what they lost with, Bryce Huff, going to the Eagles, but he was kind of part of the Jets system, less of an individual player than Hassan Riddick. I live without, that particular player. I don't get desperate.
James, you as the GM of the Saints, you want that pass rusher?
Absolutely. I kicked the tires on him because Cam Jordan's a little long in the tooth. Tonal passing, we were almost dead last in sacks last year. We can use some of that energy. We got Chase Young. It's yet to be determined how he's going to be on the team. Hopefully, he'll make us a lot better. But definitely, man, a pass rush guy that can give you double-digit sacks is a premium. I would definitely kick the tires on him and see how he's doing, and maybe even give him a 4th rounder for him, a 3rd, if I can. Yeah.
Okay, Pags, I know you guys got a good defensive line over there. Would that be somebody? I mean, you're going to have to give up something for this guy to the Patriots, and you're probably going to have to sign him too, maybe to more than a 1-year contract. He's 30 years old. I mean, you did lose a couple big experienced defensive linemen there. Are you willing to give Judon, some money and to draft make the trade with the Patriots?
Possibly. I mean, obviously, we do a rotating system on our defensive line, so he would have to fall into the scheme and with the money as well. So my thought is that you're going to be able to give him somewhere in the neighborhood of about $10 million a year. If he's willing to accept that, I would trade Bradbury.
Well, there's another element involved. There's another element that we don't talk about. If I'm the GM, I consult, for example, with a Vic Fangio, okay, the new defensive coordinator of the Eagles, and I'll say, well, what do you think of this guy? And if Fangio wants him in the worst way, that has some influence on me, some serious influence, because he's been around He's coached against these players. He sees what a nuisance they could potentially be. So if I have a new coordinator who comes in and he has his system, I got to buy all in if I'm a GM into that coordinator.
Okay, all right. I just got Brian Burns, so I probably would not give Judon what he would want. I'd love to have another pass rusher. I don't think any team wouldn't like to have one, but I think James makes the best case as a team looking for a pass rusher that might even sign him to an extension. That would be something that maybe the Saints GM would definitely look at.
Well, that's the reason why the Giants are going to be in last place or close to last place in the NFL, because they only need one pass rusher, and that's it.
Just as long as we beat you at the end of the year again, Pags, I'm happy.
Yak is still gloating over the Giants beating the Eagles the last game of the regular season.
Yeah. Because it's the only win that he could hold on to for the last 18 years.
I am going to say this about the Giants.
Oh my God! Do not go history with Giants against the Eagles, please.
5-26. 5-26 over the last 31 games. 5-26.
31 games. I thought you said years. So we don't want to talk history.
5-26 in the last 31 games. That's 15 years.
Yes,
so
and also, what are we? 5 Super Bowl appearances and winning 4. And the Eagles have how?
Yeah, but not in the last 15 years. Not in the last 15 years. And it doesn't matter. You guys are the redheaded stepchild that's like our stepbrother that we beat up all the time.
Well, the redheaded stepchild sure beat down the big brother last game they played. So anyway, let's continue with the GM. I got to use it, Pax. It's the only thing I got. Let's go to Brandon Ayuk, probably the hottest guy in the market. This is something a lot of teams are looking at this guy. San Francisco says they want to keep him. I don't think it's happening. Ayuk refused any negotiation when the contracts broke down. He's on there for a year. 49ers would have to make a move, and they could probably get some draft choices and maybe a player or so for this. He's a very talented wide receiver, young, had 1,352 yards receiving last year. Jack, this could be a number 1 receiver for you on the Jets. I mean, he would battle Wilson for this. You as a Jet, do you make the big offer for him?
No. You know what? There's a small red flag. He's really good, Ayuk. Really, really good. Don't misunderstand me. But when you're in an offense with, McCaffrey, Samuel, Kittle, it makes it a little easier for you, to get your touches and to get open. They're not keying on your defenses. To me, I put him in the category of, let's say, a CD Lamb type. Excellent receiver, very, very good. But I'm not paying him franchise type money, top of the line money, making him one of the 3 top receivers in the NFL. I don't look at him that way. I look at him just as a very, very good receiver, who's benefited by his system. So no, I couldn't afford him. I couldn't afford what he wants.
Well, we're going on the assumption that whatever you got to do, backload the contract, whatever you got to do to sign him, and the guaranteed money down the road.
I would do whatever I could do. I wouldn't break the bank for him. No, okay. Absolutely not. I would for Justin Jefferson type, but not for him.
Okay, James, how about for New Orleans Saints? Of course, like I said, you got some good wide receivers. Would you even offer up maybe a young wide receiver to the San Francisco 49ers? What would you do to get Ayuk if you could?
Okay, before I answer that, I want to go back to what Jack said, comparing him to CeeDee Lamb. I think CeeDee Lamb is a much better wide receiver than him.
He's better.
Yeah, I mean, given
they're comparable.
Yeah, but like you said, all the other talent that he had there in Dallas didn't really have a lot of talent at wide receiver. And CeeDee still accomplished a great deal.
Who else were they going to throw to?
Okay.
That's what
Who else are they throwing to?
He caught it.
So I'm saying, of course, CeeDee Lamb's going to get a lot of touches and get a lot of yards. There's nobody else. I could say the opposite of Jack's argument is the opposite of Jack's argument is, James, that they had a lot of different weapons and he still got his touches and he still got his yards. That's the opposite of Jack's argument, right? So I know some yards, but go ahead, James. Sorry.
I would say I would at least see what the deal would be. At least see, But I know he wants a lot of money. He wants the range of $30 million a year, and I don't see him as a $30 million a year player. I think he's good. I think he's very good, but he had one season to really prove that, and he's been in the league a little while. And like you say, he's a young player, but I just wouldn't want to spend that amount of money. I would see what he wants, and if we can negotiate, then I try to see if I can get him. If I can, I'm not going to pay $30 million for him.
I think more of a fact than Mac, the question should be tweaked a little bit. The question's asking, would you trade certain players for him? If I'm Dallas, I wouldn't trade CeeDee Lamb for Ayuk. If I'm the Eagles, I wouldn't trade, obviously, Brown. I wouldn't trade Devontae Smith for Ayuk. That would be a fair question. I wouldn't trade Devontae Smith. So there's your answer right there with the value. I wouldn't trade Garrett Wilson, with the Jets for Ayuk.
The point being, it may not be a player; it may be a draft pick, Jack. So you just can't. There's more options here. I imagine going to Pags as a GM of the Philadelphia Eagles. He's pretty much set at wide receiver. He might want a third wide receiver, maybe like we were talking about Darius Slayton earlier, maybe a third wide receiver that's consistent. But he's not. I don't think I'm going to ask Pags here in a minute. If he's willing to pay or make the concessions that the 49ers would want to get a Brandon Ayuk.
We're not good trade partners.
Right.
Obviously, for the same reason that they don't want him going to our team.
Right.
It's just not, we're not good trade partners. I think the 49ers are about to do something with him and put him in like football hell and send him to Carolina. I feel like that's because Carolina actually has a need for a wide receiver. They have, next year, they still don't have a first round pick, but you could maybe trade a third or a fourth round pick because that's all he'll really warrant right now. So you're getting almost like what you would assume is like a second round pick by getting a third round. Obviously you're going to get an early third round pick because Carolina is going to be back at the bottom again this year. And, you send them to, you want to start you want to make waves? Go to football hell.
But Pax, consider this. Certain teams, their window is maybe starting to close. The Niners' window to win a Super Bowl is still open, but you get the feeling after this year it's not going to be as open. So maybe you stick with the player this year, let him be unhappy. He'll go somewhere else next year, but you're going all out to win the Super Bowl this year because if you wait one more year on this, chances of him being as good next year as this year.
I'll tell you why I don't. I'll tell you why I don't do that. Because Pittsburgh Steelers need a wide receiver. They need a second wide receiver. The New England Patriots want a number one wide receiver.
Yeah.
There are teams out there that want a number one, number two wide receiver that are dying to get a wide receiver. I know Steelers have been talked about. They've been talking with San Francisco. I know the Patriots to get somebody with Drake May, again, as we talked about with another wide receiver. They would love to get their hands on Ayuk. And it might be at a big price. I think there are teams out there that would give you a lot if you're the San Francisco 49er GM to get Ayuk. And the
49ers would probably be better to send him to the AFC team to see him, so they won't see him.
Exactly. And that's another.
Or sending them to Carolina, where it's just like I said, it's football hell.
Where's telling you to hear all this?
Well, and the team is going to look, guys. The team is going to look at it this way: do we have the quarterback to utilize this receiver? Like the LA Chargers, for example, could come into play. They got Justin Herbert. They have an elite quarterback. You don't want him going. You don't want to make a deal for play if you don't have the type of quarterback who could bring out the best in that receiver.
Yeah, but again, I think it all depends on what they want to do. Jack might be right. Maybe they think this is their best chance at going to the Super Bowl and hold on to him. Yeah. I don't know if I want a player like that that's unhappy on my team because that might affect me the other way too. So that's my thoughts on something like that. So let's take an early look at the NFC West, guys. We talked about the NFC East last week, and I think there's going to be an interesting development, especially where I think the bottom teams will be. And Jack, I'm going to get your thoughts on these early thoughts. These are not really predictions, but after the draft, after free agency for the most part is over, we still got some to do, but major moves have been made. What are your thoughts on the NFC West and where teams are going to finish?
Well, obviously the Chiefs are the class of the division. Patrick Mahomes was saying the other day, last season wasn't a happy season for him.
NFC.
Oh, NFC? Are we talking? Oh, I thought you were talking about AFC. I'm sorry. Wow, that is I'll tell you, it's a tough division. I just mentioned with the Niners a little while ago, a lot of people are thinking the Rams could unseat them and win that division this year, even though you would think the Niners' worst case scenario would go in as a wild card team. I just don't know what to make out of the Rams. Seattle, did they take a step back? Well, this is their first year without Pete Carroll. So you wonder what's going on there. And, of course, the Arizona Cardinals, are they going to be a team on the upswing? You know, they were competitive in their losses last year. They didn't have a good record. What were they, like 4-13? But they were competitive. It wasn't an automatic easy win teams playing them. And, you know, to get Marvin Harrison and to have a healthy Kyler Murray this year, you know, Arizona, even though they're not looked at as a playoff team, they probably won't get there. They could go from 4-13 to like 8-9, not being a doormat team, you know, this particular season. And I don't know yet. I'd have to really sit down and do some serious thinking who I'm going to pick to win the division between the Niners and the Rams. Off the top of my head, I'd say, yeah, the 49ers. They could maybe pick up from where they left off last year. But it's a good division. Seattle's the most intriguing team because we don't know what to make out of them. They could either be a playoff team or they could be like a 7-10 type team.
So, Pags, let me let you go second on this one. Well, what is your order and kind of why?
So I'm going to still stick with the 49ers as the number one. With or without Ayuk, I still think that they have the most talent. The reason why I don't think the Rams are going to overtake them is Aaron Donald retired, and that's enough. That is just enough to make sure that they will not take over for the 49ers. I think that Seattle is still number 3 and the Cardinals are number 4. And could they flip-flop? Yes. Yes, the Cardinals have gotten enough better, and I think that Seattle is in now their change. Like they are going to retool or redo whatever they're going to do with the new coach and the way that the GM is going. I think that this is going to be a transition year for them, and it could possibly be not a very good year because of all the different changes that they've made. So it's possible that Arizona could wind up as high as number 3. But I think it's not going to matter when you're talking about 6 and 7 wins. I think that's going to be at the bottom. I think that the Rams are going to be somewhere in that 8 to 9 win category, and then the 49ers are going to be in the 11 to 13 win category, depending on how their season goes.
James, why don't you give us a crack too? Are you agreeing with Bags and Jack for the most part?
Pretty much. I mean, 49ers number 1. I just don't see any of those teams, even with some of the moves they've made, to even compare to the 49ers. They're just still loaded. They hadn't had any significant changes like the Rams. Like you said, Aaron Donald, that's a huge loss. And he retired on top, but I mean, that's the anchor of your defense. And so they drafted the kid out of Florida State, but we don't know what he's going to be like. I mean, he does a defensive end. And I think maybe 8 to 9 wins for the Rams. I like 13 wins for the 49ers still. I mean, I still got them up there to enough to just, I think they win the whole division undefeated because I don't like Seattle. I just don't like where they are. I think they're okay. I mean, okay enough to just be maybe just under 500. And the jury's out on Kyler Murray. Even with Marvin Harrison there, man, I'm just not really sold on him. And I will see how this season goes, but I'm not a fan of the team overall. The organization seemed like they just really hadn't really put much effort into really building around him. But again, for his style of play. But I see 4 wins for them at the bottom.
You know,
It depends on whether if he reads the playbook or not.
Right.
that's he has to mature.
I'm
For sure.
going to say this, guys. Sometimes you got to look 1 year ahead to evaluate how a team will do this year and look at the quarterback position. Brock Purdy is going to be the 9 quarterback a year from now. Okay, Matthew Stafford, if he doesn't retire and stays healthy, he's going to be the Ram quarterback a year from now. Kyler Murray too is going to be the Cardinal quarterback if he doesn't retire a year from now. Geno Smith, I get the feeling he's not going to be the starting quarterback in 2025, and that should be revealing what we should expect from Seattle this year.
You know, I don't think I think that has nothing to do with this year at all. Listen, I agree with Jack that the Rams are going to be a lot more better than you two are saying. I think the Rams are going to be up right on the 49ers' heels this year. I love the way their offense kicked it in last year. Their defense loses Donald, true, but look at what they got on offense. They got a surprisingly really good running game. Shocked everybody. They got 2 of the best wide receivers in the league right now. That tandem is nothing to sneeze at. And Stafford is a seasoned quarterback who won a Super Bowl already.
Yeah, but
once they did against the Detroit Lions, they almost ended up in a championship last year. I'm not saying the Rams aren't that good of minus 500 team. I think they're right on there. I think they're right on the heels, and I think the 49ers do edge it out. I think I just like the 49ers overall team. But I think the Rams
biggest
are right
difference
there.
being Donald. The biggest difference being Donald. I mean, obviously you had one of the best defensive linemen in the game. When you have one of the best, there's everybody else below them. And that's the biggest difference.
That is a big difference, but they also have one of the best young wide receivers in the league too. I mean, I understand what you're saying.
It's a difference between 7 and 10 points a game now. That's what we're talking about.
I'll tell you right now, I think that rookie they picked up from Florida State is going to be a star this year. I really do. And I think he's going to have an unbelievable season. I think the Rams are right on their heels. I don't think the 49ers are impenetrable. They got problems over there. Brock Purdy and Kittle had a down year. McCaffrey's one of the best. They got questions right now with Deebo Samuels. They don't know if they're going to sign him or not. They got some questions over there. And the 49er defense wasn't great last year either. They weren't what they were the year before. They got some questions over there on that side of the ball. The biggest thing I think is going to happen, if Kyler Murray studies his book, and that wide receiver they pick up, they may sneak out and beat Seattle for 3rd place. And Seattle does have a great wide receiver core. The running game has a little question marks. Their defense, a lot of question marks. We'll see what the new head coach does. I think that may be the biggest surprise. Seattle dropping and falling off a little bit. I'm not sure if that's going to happen because, as Pag says, I don't know. Even a healthy Kyler Murray has problems. I don't know if that head coach, maybe the head coach gets his head. They do have a good young head coach.
Former Eagle coordinator.
So maybe he gets into his head a little bit. I don't know. It'd be nice to see Kyler Murray with a good year. I don't believe they haven't adjusted the offense around him. I think they did maybe too much because they depended way too much on him. I think with this Eagle, the former Eagle head coach, the new head coach, I think they're starting something over there in Arizona. I don't know if they're gonna, how much they improve, but I think they might improve enough to take 3rd place. So interesting. I think it's a very interesting division. I really do, especially the 2 top teams there, especially with me and Jack and you two being so opposite in our expectations. I think it's going to be a heck of a year over there. That's going to be very interesting. So let's get some of the other news stories in here. We're near the end of the show. I'll save the most dominating teams in NFL history, the top 50 next week. We're going to go do the top 5. We can always do that. So team and WNBA beats the female team USA. A lot to do with 3 players that one who ended up not withdrawing her name from the pool. Hopefully I'm saying this right. Brenna. Oh my God. Not Brenna Stewart. I'm trying to get her name here. Help me out, James. I know you're into this. Olga, thank you. Say it.
Something. Yeah.
Yes.
It's hard. It's Nigerian. I just can't
I
get
know.
it.
Well, anyway, I'm glad
That's the
Jack's
best thing
off.
you've said all day, Jack. We couldn't hear a word you said.
I hope he stays there.
No, Mac
Anyway.
is doing a brilliant job of hosting this show. All he has to do is take a knee towards the end of the show and get conservative. But Mac is putting the ball in the air, fumbling these names. And come on, you're doing a brilliant job hosting Mac till now. Forget a name.
Thank you.
Who
Thank
cares, WNBA?
Thank you. It matters. People do care about whether or not the WNBA or not.
Oh,
But
no, I
you're hard
do,
to
but
pronounce.
the name you're going to throw out, who cares? I mean, come
I
on.
know. She
I'm sure
withdrew
Brenna
from
does.
there you go. She was a in the pool to go to the Team USA. She withdrew because of the politics, and of course, we got Caitlin Clark who does her thing. We've got Sunshine there. Help me
Angel
out,
Reese.
Thank you, Angel Reese. She ends up doing 10 and 12 rebounds for the game, and Team WNBA upsets Team USA. I think it's 117 to 109, somewhere about that. Do you guys take anything away from that? I mean, is this going to be talked about on a bunch of podcasts that the mistakes Team USA made? Is this going to be a chatter there, or is it just an exhibition game that helps Team USA get ready for the Olympics?
Well, notice no one's talking about what Team USA did wrong. They're talking about what the WNBA is doing. With the Olympics coming up, there's more interest in the WNBA players not on the team than those who are on. The exact opposite of the men. All we care about with the men, the elite men on the Olympic team, we're talking about them. If the men lost, the men's Olympic team, if they lost to a USA team, okay, of all stars who are not on the Olympic team, would anyone care? I mean, it wouldn't be a big deal. They would be focusing on the losing team, not the team that won. But we're doing just the opposite with the WNBA.
I think some of it is marketing. I think at first my stance was why wasn't Caitlin Clark on the Olympic team? But looking at it differently now, considering that most professional sports that participate in the Olympics are usually done right now, like we're talking about basketball, and some other sports, but basketball is the biggest thing. They play during the summer in the WNBA, so why would you take some of your best players or the players that are giving you momentum with marketing away from the WNBA and put them in the pool of the Olympic team? And so I could see why you would keep Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese there to have a bit of a budding rivalry in the WNBA to play, and then keep some great stars outside from the WNBA and put them in the Olympics. That's just a take.
What do you think, Pags? I know you were really upset Caitlin Clark didn't get in the on the Team USA just because of eyes.
No, I wanted her on Team Italy. So I'm not sure if she's on Team Italy or not, but it'll be awesome if she is. Here's my thought. I think that Team USA, I think that this is a precursor that although they may have the best team in the Olympics, that they don't play well enough together as a team, and that they probably do not get gold. And it will go down in history here as why did you have Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark on this team? Instead, you had an aging star who's well past her prime of Danielle Taurasi, and you could probably say somebody else who probably hasn't come to the forefront yet on how they didn't do very well in the Olympics, and that's going to be the story for all of time. So in 4 years from now, that's what we're going to hear, that Team USA made the biggest mistake of not having Angel Reese or Caitlin Clark on this team, and they're not going to do that again. And then, of course, they're going to win in gold in 4 years, but I don't think they win it this year.
Real quick, Jack, because we don't got time. I got to get in under 2 hours. Joel Embiid calls out Team USA saying and directly commenting on LeBron James that maybe they don't win gold because the team's too old. LeBron James 39, Steph Curry is 36, Drew Holiday is 34, Embiid's 30. And he thinks, well, you know, we saw what happened with Sudan almost beating them. He thinks they may not win gold this year just because of the age. Real quick, I got like 3 minutes. What do you think, Jack? I don't know if you can say in 3 minutes. Try it.
I didn't hear about that remark. I believe if you say said it, he said it. LeBron James took over the game yesterday at the end when it looked like the USA was going to get upset, and he went on a tear at the end, and he basically carried the squad to victory. So it certainly wasn't his age. I don't think age is a factor. Steph Curry is a top 10 player in the NBA still. LeBron James is. Drew Holiday is, contributed mightily to the Celtics winning the NBA championship. We're talking about how they are right now. We're not talking about signing these guys to a contract at their age to an extension. I think if Joel Embiid said it, I think it was probably misquoted to a degree.
So Jack, anyway, he says he doesn't think it's a problem. Give me James real quick. Is it a problem?
Yes, keep your mouth shut. If you're thinking this, don't say that out loud. I agree that, yes, the first time I heard this, when I saw the team collected together, I thought it was too old. But okay. I'm not going to, if I'm on the team, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut because the bigger goal is, hey, we want to try to win gold. Let's get together and chemistry. I think he's salty because he wasn't the starter anymore. I think that's part of the problem.
Pags, real quick, under 2 minutes, what do you think? Is Embiid right or is James right?
Well, no, I think that they do have some age and it might catch up to them. But I kind of agree with James in the fact that why did you say it in the first place? Oh, we're too old. So now you're going to start a little bit of a dissension in the locker room. Like that's, I don't understand the purpose of saying it. And I wonder if he said it that, during the same time where he said, hey, I could have been the best player in the world if I didn't have these freak injuries. So, I mean, there's a lot of things coming out of Embiid's mouth that I'm not really keen on. And You know what? Be humble. You ain't won a ring yet. So be humble and be happy that you're where you're at right now. So if you're going to cause dissension, then that's your own problem. It has nothing to do with anybody else. It has to do with you.
Pags, that is the most honest, straight up thing you ever said about the 76ers. A heck of a way to end the show. And I agree with you 100%. Have a good one, folks. We got to close out. Have a great Sunday, and we'll see you on Roku at 4 if you're listening on YouTube. Have a great one, folks. We'll see you soon.